Hi, my name is Katie and I run the blog and YouTube channel Cast Iron Stew. Today I want to teach you a really simple and easy technique for making thicker and stronger yarn. Alrighty, for this tutorial I'm going to be using Lion Brand Yarns, Hometown USA in the color Key Largo Tweed, but feel free to use any type of yarn or yarn brand that you want because this technique is not picky. Now, to make the hand-chained yarn, the first thing to do is create a slip knot, and you can do this in a variety of different ways. If you're not sure of how to do a slip knot, there's lots of videos online, so maybe play around with techniques and find one that you're happy with. So simply reach your fingers in through this loop and grab the yarn, the working yarn, and then pull on this little tail here and tighten the yarn down. And what this does is it makes the rest of it a lot easier, because if I had you just start right away with the technique, you might find that it gets kind of fiddly in that beginning knot there. Alright, so now that that's over, I want to teach you the actual technique. And the first thing that I want to teach you is how to hold a yarn with your left hand. The idea is to hold both your project steady and your working yarn tight. So pinch the knot. I don't know if you can see that very well on the camera, but there's the knot. So go ahead and grab that knot with your thumb and your pointer finger, and then use your remaining 3 fingers to grab the working yarn like so. So I've got it pinched here, and the working yarn is grabbed by these 3 fingers. So here's the back side. I've got it pinched here and these 3 fingers. If you find that there's a different technique that works for you, where you still maintain tension and still hold on to this, then go ahead and do it, as long as you know that you're maintaining tension and you've got a nice hold on your project. Now the next thing to do is to create the actual knots. So this is the part that I'm going to repeat several times, but it might be kind of tricky to get at first. So first, insert your thumb and your pointer finger into the loop, and then use your pointer finger kind of like a crochet hook and grab the yarn. Okay, so I've got my fingers in here. Go ahead and grab the working yarn. Pull the working yarn through the loop like so. Then use your thumb to push down on this bottom thread. Can you see how it kind of goes around my finger? This is the top of the working thread and this is the bottom. So go ahead and push down on that bottom part. The first few stitches might be kind of hard just because there's not much to hold on to and to work with. And then go ahead and pull that tight. I'm going to show you again, and hopefully it'll go better the second time. So go ahead and reach your fingers into that loop like so. Then grab the working yarn with your finger. Then pull that yarn through the loop like so. This one's working a lot better. Then use your thumb to push down on that bottom yarn. Okay, so I've got the top yarn here, wraps around, and then here's the bottom yarn. Okay, it's essentially the bottom of the new loop. And push down. Then go ahead and rotate your hand, which I didn't show you before, by the way. Rotate your hand like this. And what that does is it not only tightens, but it gets your thumb all the way over here, which is important. Then lift your pointer finger out of the way, spin it around, and insert again. See what I mean about it being kind of hard to understand at first? But once you get the hang of it, you'll find that it's actually really easy. Alright? So insert your fingers into this loop. Use your pointer finger to grab the working yarn and pull through the loop. Then use your thumb to push down on this bottom strand, okay? As you push down, rotate your hand like so. Then lift your pointer finger out of the way and move it around using your thumb essentially as a pivot, okay? And then insert your pointer finger back into that loop. Is it making more sense now? I hope so. Alright, I'm going to show you again. So grab the yarn, pull through, push down with your thumb and rotate. Use your thumb as a pivot and insert your finger back into the loop. Okay? I'm going to show you several more times. Hopefully you can get the point. I know the first time wasn't very clear. But once you get the hang of it, it's actually a very easy process. If you're familiar with chaining, you may find that this is kind of similar to that, but instead of using a crochet hook, this uses our fingers. So reach in, grab a loop, pull out, push down, pivot, and start over. Now I want to show you how to join skeins. If you're making a large enough project, you might find that one skein isn't enough, and being able to join skeins is a really important skill. When you're ready to join, go ahead and leave a loop and a tail. The tail doesn't have to be too long, but make sure that it's a couple inches. And then take your new yarn and make a slip knot. Take that new slip knot and insert it into the old loop. Like that. Then find the tail to your old project and pull it. And pull it tight so that you're cinching that new yarn. I don't know if you can see very well on the camera, but I've essentially cinched this new loop on here. Next, insert your fingers into the new loop and grab the working thread. Pull that through and then pull on the tail to your new yarn. Like that. And then continue working as usual. Now, in order to get rid of these tails, I recommend actually knotting the two tails together. Okay? Now, this works really well because essentially when these join, there is a little bit of a dent inwards. I'm not exactly sure why, but there is. And so this can kind of cover up that dent, and it also secures those tails in place. And then simply take some scissors and cut those tails. Try not to cut your project. And if you're worried about these showing up, after they're crocheted or knitted into a project, these little tiny tails should not show up. And if you do see a little peeking out, you should be able to shove it back into your project. But there you go, that's how to join skeins. It's pretty simple and straightforward, but it's a really good technique to know. Now that you know how to make hand-chained yarn and join skeins, I want to show you how to finish off. The first technique is really simple and really easy. If you've been crocheting as you go or you just knew the right amount that you needed, you should be able to end with the exact number of little hand chains. If you do have this, then all you need is a loop and a tail. Simply take the tail, push it through the loop, and then pull on that tail to make the loop tight. So this technique is really easy and really simple. You essentially just pull the tail through that loop and pull it tight. But if for some reason you've overestimated the amount of hand-chained yarn that you need, which is absolutely possible, and you don't feel like undoing yards and yards of hand chaining just to do that technique, I want to show you another way. So say you get to the point where you're ready to cut it off. Go ahead and cut your project, making sure that you leave quite a bit of room. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, but I'm going to try to show you. Essentially what you need to do is find the end and unravel a couple of stitches. Alrighty. Then undo a few stitches. This is where it's important that you left enough room. And then go ahead and take one of those little loops, the last stitch, and pull it up to make a big loop. Then take the tail that you just unraveled and stick it through the loop that you made and pull tight like before. That technique is a little bit harder and it does require a little bit more fiddling, but if you don't feel like undoing yards and yards of hand chaining work, it's definitely a nice option. I know this video is running kind of long, but I do want to make a few final notes before I wrap up. First of all, for this particular weight yarn, so that is super bulky size 6, I recommend a 15.75 crochet hook. This happened to be the biggest crochet hook that I could find at my store, and it worked really well with my hand-chained yarn. Keep in mind though that if you use thinner or thicker yarn, that your crochet hook's size, the ideal crochet hook size, should be smaller or bigger to match that thickness. Another note is if you decide to make a pot holder with this technique, because obviously having thick yarn could be really useful for making a pot holder, I recommend that you check the yarn label. Make sure that it is absolutely okay for heat, because some yarns tend to melt with heat, and I don't want any of you ruining your beautiful crochet projects, okay? And I guess that's all. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can email me at castironsstew@gmail.com or simply leave a comment in the comment section below. Have a great day! Bye-bye!